Hello everyone. There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than words. When a familiar face disappears, it leaves behind not just memories, but a deep ache in the hearts of those left behind. Some stories are too powerful to forget. Stories that shaped lives, inspired millions, and echoed across generations. Today we take a moment to remember, to reflect, and to honor a soul whose presence may be gone, but whose legacy lives on.
Barry Farber, the voice of American radio and language. In the world of radio, where voices are the lifeblood that connects people across distances and cultures, few individuals have left as indelible a mark as Barry Farber. Born on September 1, 1930, in the bustling borough of Manhattan, New York, Farber's voice became a signature of his era, a blend of wit, charisma, and intellectual depth that captivated millions. As one of the most well-known and influential talk radio hosts in American history, Farber's legacy is built not just on his ability to engage and entertain, but on his unparalleled passion for languages, culture, and the art of communication. Farber's early life was one of intellectual curiosity. Raised in a family that valued education and discourse, he was drawn to languages from a young age. His fascination with the intricacies of communication would guide him throughout his career, ultimately becoming the cornerstone of his identity as a radio host. Barry Farber was a man who didn't just talk for the sake of talking. He sought to understand the world around him, and through the airwaves, he shared that understanding with his audience. After attending Columbia University, Farber's career began to take shape in the 1950s. Initially, he entered the world of radio by chance, but once behind the microphone, he found his true calling. His first major break came with the launch of his own talk show in the early 1960s. From that moment forward, Farber's voice became synonymous with informative yet entertaining radio. His show, which would run for several decades, became a staple for those who craved thoughtful, often provocative discussions on politics, culture, and human nature. What set Farber apart from other radio hosts was his ability to blend highbrow intellectualism with a down-to-earth approachability. His expertise in languages, he was fluent in several, including Spanish, French, and Italian, allowed him to bring a global perspective to his discussions, often weaving in references to the nuances of different cultures and languages in a way that was both enlightening and engaging. Farber's listeners didn't just hear a man talk about world events. They heard a man who had lived and breathed those events, a man who sought to make sense of the world through the lens of language and history. Farber's voice was not just a vehicle for conveying information. It was a bridge between people. His command of language allowed him to transcend the boundaries of traditional talk radio. He could discuss the most complex geopolitical issues with clarity and then seamlessly transition to a lighter, more humorous discussion. His show was a space where listeners could learn, laugh, and reflect all in the span of a single broadcast. Whether he was interviewing politicians, authors, or everyday people, Farber had an uncanny ability to make his guests and his audience feel heard. Beyond his radio career, Barry Farber was also a prolific author. His writing, like his speaking, was deeply rooted in his passion for language. He penned several books, most notably How to Learn Any Language, 1977, which reflected his lifelong love affair with languages. The book became a classic in the language learning community, offering readers practical advice on how to approach learning a new language with both passion and practicality. Farber's ability to break down the complexities of language acquisition made the process feel approachable for anyone willing to take on the challenge. Farber was also an advocate for the preservation of free speech and intellectual debate. His radio program was often a space for people to discuss ideas that might have otherwise been ignored by mainstream media. He understood that communication was not just about speaking. It was about listening, reflecting, and engaging with ideas, even those that were uncomfortable or controversial. He wasn't afraid to tackle sensitive topics head-on, often presenting viewpoints that made his audience think, question, and reconsider their perspectives. His commitment to presenting a wide range of voices and viewpoints, especially in a time when political correctness began to stifle open conversation, earned him the respect of many listeners, even those who didn't always agree with him. In his later years, Farber's influence extended beyond radio. He became a mentor to younger broadcasters and a beloved figure in the media world. Despite the changing landscape of radio, with the rise of digital platforms and new media, Farber's legacy remained intact. His voice, while no longer heard on the airwaves as frequently, continued to be a symbol of the golden age of radio, when personalities like his were able to shape public discourse and provide listeners with a sense of connection to the world beyond their immediate surroundings. Barry Farber passed away on February 21, 2020, but his legacy lives on in the countless radio hosts, language enthusiasts, and thinkers who were inspired by his work. He was more than just a voice on the radio. He was a bridge between cultures, a keeper of knowledge, and a man whose dedication to the craft of communication changed the landscape of American radio. Through his broadcasts, books, and teachings, Barry Farber left an indelible mark on the world of media, showing us all the power of language, the importance of conversation, and the enduring value of free expression. In the grand narrative of American talk radio, Barry Farber's name will forever be etched as a symbol of intellectual curiosity, eloquence, and passion for the world of languages. He didn't just speak to his audience, he spoke for them, encouraging each listener to engage more deeply with the world around them, to learn, to grow, and to communicate with purpose and authenticity. His voice may have gone silent, but his impact endures. Augustin Viegas, the silent pioneer of Latin American cinema. In the early days of cinema, where the lights of the silver screen were dominated by grandiose stories and loud spectacles, there was a man who carved his own path, a man whose quiet strength, deep artistry, and profound understanding of the human condition shaped a new narrative. Augustin Viegas, born in 1945 in Mexico, was not just a filmmaker. He was a visionary, a craftsman, and a silent pioneer who sought to elevate Latin American cinema to new heights. Raised in a world where Mexico's cinematic landscape was largely defined by melodrama and populist themes, Viegas saw the limitations of the prevailing styles and sought to break free from them. His early life, immersed in the rich cultural history of Mexico, would later fuel his deep connection to his homeland's identity and the stories that often went untold. He grew up in a time when the country was undergoing rapid transformation, but the stories on film failed to capture the complexities of its people. Where others saw limitations, Viegas saw potential. He didn't want to simply tell stories. He wanted to delve deep into the layers of human experience and the unspoken tensions within society. Viegas studied at the prestigious National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, where his passion for storytelling evolved. During his time at university, he began to recognize the unique blend of political, social, and cultural forces that shaped Mexico. The narratives of struggle, identity, and change were the ones that spoke to him most. And so, his filmmaking began to reflect the reality of a Mexico on the cusp of a new identity, one that was both traditional and modern, one that was deeply rooted in history, but also looking to the future. Augustin Viegas made his directorial debut in the early 1970s, during a time when the Mexican film industry was experiencing a shift. The rise of new Latin American cinema offered a space for filmmakers like Viegas to explore more profound, politically charged narratives. His work wasn't merely entertainment. It was an exploration of identity, history, and the intersection of personal and political. In films like Cuerpos Perdidos, 1975, Viegas explored the emotional and psychological impacts of social upheaval and the alienation that often accompanies it. His ability to portray the internal struggles of his characters, set against the backdrop of political unrest, mark him as a unique voice in Latin American cinema. Viegas' storytelling was minimalist in nature. He didn't rely on flashy visuals or high-concept plots. Instead, his films were characterized by their quiet moments, their subtle character development, and their ability to convey deep emotion through silence. His camera lingered on faces, capturing every fleeting expression, every moment of hesitation. It was in these spaces between words that Viegas found the most powerful forms of expression. His style resonated deeply with audiences, not just in Mexico, but across Latin America, where the desire for more authentic and relatable portrayals of everyday life was becoming increasingly evident. Despite facing challenges in a film industry that was slow to embrace change, Viegas continued to work on projects that pushed boundaries. His films often dealt with the themes of alienation, the effects of historical trauma, and the complexity of identity. He didn't shy away from showing the darker side of life, be it the psychological scars left by political regimes or the quiet desperation of individuals struggling to find their place in an ever-changing world. Viegas' work often painted characters not as victims of circumstance, but as individuals grappling with their own moral dilemmas, seeking redemption, or struggling to understand their own humanity in a world that seemed indifferent. But perhaps the greatest testament to Augustin Viegas' legacy was his role in mentoring the next generation of filmmakers. Having faced obstacles throughout his career, he understood the importance of providing opportunities for young, emerging voices in the industry. He believed that cinema had the power to transform society, not just entertain it. Through his work as a teacher and mentor, he shaped the future of Mexican cinema and ensured that the voices of those often left behind were heard. His influence extended beyond the borders of Mexico. As Latin American cinema began to gain international recognition, Viegas films were screened at prestigious festivals, bringing a new level of respect and recognition to the region's filmmakers. His ability to capture the heart of Mexico, its people, its struggles, and its resilience, made him a figure of great importance in the world of cinema. Augustin Viegas' legacy, however, extends beyond his films. His commitment to portraying real, authentic lives gave voice to the marginalized and the silenced. His work has inspired countless filmmakers to embrace the beauty of simplicity, the power of silence, and the depth of human emotion. While his films may not have always been commercially successful in his lifetime, their cultural impact is undeniable. His quiet, poetic approach to cinema has left a lasting mark on the film world, one that will continue to influence filmmakers for generations to come. When Augustin Viegas passed away in 2015, the world lost one of its most important cinematic voices. Yet his influence persists. His films continue to be studied and admired by filmmakers, scholars, and audiences alike, not just for their artistry, but for their humanity. He showed the world that cinema is not just about storytelling. It is about understanding, about empathy, and about seeing the world in all its complexity. Through his career, Augustin Villegas taught us that the most powerful stories are often the quietest ones. That true art doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand attention, it earns it. And through his work, Villegas has ensured that his quiet whispers will echo through the annals of Latin American cinema for years to come. Augustin Villegas was more than just a filmmaker. He was a pioneer of a movement, a creator of worlds, and a man who believed that cinema could be a mirror to the soul of society. His legacy, like his films, will continue to resonate long after the credits roll. Virginia Capers, the matriarch of American stage and screen. In the shadowed heart of the American South, where stories often went unheard and voices were drowned by history's weight, a young girl named Virginia Capers emerged, not with a roar, but with a resolve. Born on September 22, 1925, in Sumter, South Carolina, she would grow into one of the most commanding and soulful performers of the American stage and screen. She would become a woman who brought gravity to every line she spoke and warmth to every space she entered. Her voice could shake rafters or soothe wounds. And across decades of performance, she became more than an actress. She became a vessel for dignity, power, and truth. Raised in an era when roles for black performers were boxed in and often belittled, Virginia never let boundaries define her. Her early education at Howard University, one of the premier historically black colleges, wasn't just an academic pursuit, it was a foundation for rebellion, for identity, for excellence. From there, she took her talents to the Juilliard School in New York City, where her operatic voice was polished into a force of nature. She didn't just act. She filled a stage with presence. Capers made her Broadway debut in the musical Jamaica in the late 1950s. It wasn't long before the theater world realized they weren't just witnessing another supporting player, they were watching a woman who could carry entire productions with a glance, a sigh, a simple walk across a stage. But it was in 1974, with her breathtaking portrayal of Lena Younger in the musical adaptation of A Raisin in the Sun called Raisin, that she earned her rightful crown. With that performance, she won the Tony Award for Best Lead Actress in a Musical. And with it, she became a symbol, not just of excellence in craft, but of what it meant to hold space as a black woman in American theater. She played Lena not just as a mother, but as a continent of emotion, bearing the weight of generations. Yet Capers never allowed herself to be tethered to one medium. Her work in film and television proved just as impactful. She played matriarchs and grandmothers, judges and teachers, roles that, in the hands of lesser actors, might have faded into the background. But in Capers' hands, these characters were vital, living, complex. Whether it was in films like Lady Sings the Blues, The Toy, or Ferris Bueller's Day Off, she brought gravity to even the smallest roles. In one moment, she could be nurturing, in another regal, in another still, devastating in her honesty. Television brought her into the homes of millions, most memorably in appearances on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where she played Hattie Banks, grandmother to Will Smith's character. In that role, as in so many others, she gave voice to the unspoken wisdom of generations. There was no need for long speeches, her presence alone told the story. But acting was only one facet of her artistry. Capers was a builder. She founded the Lafayette Players, a Los Angeles-based theater company devoted to providing work and a platform for black actors who too often found doors closed. Her leadership behind the scenes was as fierce as her performances in front of the curtain. She didn't just demand more from the industry, she created it. She shaped a world where black talent could thrive on its own terms. Even the world of video games, not typically a haven for Broadway greats, felt her power. She lent her voice to the game Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers, giving the role a depth and intensity that surprised an entire generation of players. Critics called her performance unforgettable, and they were right. But perhaps what defined Virginia Capers most was her unwavering sense of purpose. She believed in the transformative power of art. She believed that storytelling could heal, that every note she sang and every word she spoke had the potential to shift something in the hearts of her audience. Off stage, she was generous, grounded. She mentored, encouraged, and lifted others with her example. When she passed away on May 6, 2004, from complications due to pneumonia, the world lost not just a performer, but a pillar. Yet her legacy doesn't fade. It flickers in the young actors she inspired, in the black theater companies she helped birth, in the memories of those who sat in darkened theaters and forgot, for a moment, where they were, because Virginia Capers was showing them something truer. She was more than a character actress. She was a truth-teller, a keeper of cultural memory, a woman who didn't wait for space. She carved it out, stood firm in it, and invited others in. In her life and in her work, Virginia Capers reminded us that greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes softly, with dignity and depth, and it lasts forever. Anthony Hopkins, a master of subtlety and power. In the vast realm of cinema, where actors come and go, there stands one figure whose performances transcend the limitations of time and space, whose every movement on screen seems to tell a deeper, more profound story. That man is Sir Anthony Hopkins, a performer whose quiet intensity and mastery of nuance have cemented him as one of the greatest actors to ever grace the silver screen. Born on December 31, 1937, in Port Talbot, Wales, Hopkins' journey from a young, restless soul in a small industrial town to one of the most iconic actors of his generation is a testament to his unparalleled talent and his relentless pursuit of perfection. Hopkins' early life was marked by a deep sense of insecurity. A self-described shy child, he often struggled to fit in and found solace in the world of art. His parents, though loving, were not the most nurturing in the traditional sense, and Hopkins found refuge in his imagination. He eventually discovered his passion for acting while attending the Welsh College of Music and Drama, where he would begin to hone the skills that would later define his career. But it wasn't until he moved to London and studied at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, that his true potential began to take shape. In his early years, Hopkins worked tirelessly in theater, gaining recognition for his ability to inhabit characters with both grandeur and subtlety. His early performances on stage showcased his deep understanding of the human condition and his ability to bring even the most complex characters to life with minimal effort and immense emotional power. But it was his move into film that truly solidified his place as one of the finest actors of his generation. Hopkins first caught widespread attention in the 1960s with his remarkable portrayal of Richard II at the National Theatre. His brilliance was soon recognized by Hollywood, where he would go on to create a string of unforgettable performances. However, it was his role as Dr. Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, 1991, that would forever alter the trajectory of his career and of cinematic history. In a performance that demanded both intellectual depth and chilling menace, Hopkins created a character so terrifying, so captivating, that the mere mention of his name still sends shivers down the spine of audiences worldwide. His portrayal of Lecter was a masterclass in restraint, never once overacting, but instead capturing the true horror of a man who is both brilliant and monstrous in equal measure. The performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, and it is now widely regarded as one of the most iconic in film history. But while The Silence of the Lambs may have brought Hopkins global recognition, his career has been defined by far more than just one role. Over the decades, Hopkins has seamlessly transitioned between a wide range of characters, demonstrating an uncanny ability to embody anyone from a troubled king to a disillusioned father, from an aging artist to a ruthless businessman. In every role, his acting is marked by an unspoken power, a depth that is often found not in the grand gestures, but in the quiet moments. What sets Hopkins apart from many of his peers is his mastery of subtlety. While many actors rely on exaggerated emotions or dramatic flourishes, Hopkins uses restraint to convey more. His eyes, his silence, the briefest pauses in his speech, these are the tools that allow him to create an atmosphere of tension or empathy, often without saying a word. His ability to create drama with the simplest of gestures, the slightest flicker of an expression, is what makes his performances so unforgettable. He is a master of holding back, of making the audience wait for the release of emotion, and when it comes, it is all the more powerful. Beyond his acting, Anthony Hopkins is a deeply introspective man with a philosophical approach to both his art and his life. He has often spoken about the nature of acting, describing it as a process of becoming someone else entirely. For Hopkins, the act of transforming into a character is not about mimicry, but about understanding, truly diving into the psyche of the person he is portraying. This deep sense of empathy and intellectual curiosity is what makes his portrayal so authentic, so real. Hopkins has always approached each role with the mindset that every character is deserving of his full attention, regardless of how large or small the part may be. Though he has reached the heights of fame, Hopkins remains a humble figure, unassuming and modest about his accomplishments. He is not one to chase fame or adoration. Instead, he finds fulfillment in the work itself, the craft of acting, process of creating something meaningful. This approach has allowed him to maintain a remarkable longevity in the industry, with each new role adding another layer to his already extensive legacy. His later work has only solidified his place as one of the most respected figures in cinema. In films like The Remains of the Day in 1993, The Father 2020, and The Two Popes 2019, Hopkins continues to explore the complexities of human emotions, aging, regret, and redemption. His portrayal of an aging father struggling with dementia in The Father earned him yet another Academy Award, showcasing his ability to continue to evolve as an actor even into his later years. Beyond the silver screen, Hopkins is a man of many talents. A gifted painter and composer, he has found solace in the world of the arts outside of acting. His creative pursuits are another manifestation of his boundless curiosity and artistic nature. In many ways, his painting and music are just as introspective and thought-provoking as his acting. He has often described his creative work as a way of finding balance, and it is clear that his artistic endeavors are an extension of his desire to understand the world around him. As a result, Anthony Hopkins is not just an actor. He is an artist in every sense of the word. His legacy is one of unparalleled skill, a mastery of the craft that will continue to inspire generations of actors to come. His performances are a reminder that true greatness lies not in shouting the loudest, but in understanding the quiet moments of life, the ones that hold the greatest weight. Sir Anthony Hopkins has left an indelible mark on the world of cinema. His contributions to the art of film are immeasurable, and his legacy as one of the greatest actors in the history of film will forever endure. In every character he plays, in every performance he gives, he brings a level of depth and humanity that transcends the screen. And in every moment of stillness, in every glance, he leaves us with a truth, that the greatest power in acting lies not in what is said, but in what is left unsaid, in their memory. Though they are no longer with us, their contributions to music, entertainment, and culture continue to inspire and shape the world today. Their legacies live on, reminding us of the impact one can leave behind. Thank you for watching. RIP Daily Update.